necessarily the aptitude for this university. I never attended. I just know it existed.
I see. I see.
It's where I grew up.
It is wise for one to. There's wisdom in understanding one's natural talents and taking those and focusing on those as opposed to trying to be something that you aren't. Yes.
He just Cal just nods.
Hmm. Hmm. And how did you? Were you one of the poachers, or did you help defend this group against these poachers?
I helped. I don't know in what way, but I ended up helping
I see. I see.
and decided to stick around, and they were fine with it.
Well, you've managed to make quite a name for yourself in just a couple days.
Slight eyebrow twitch, but he doesn't say. Cal doesn't say anything.
Okay. Well, all the people of Sandpoint are talking about the. Uh, are you an elf? Is that right? Or are you a?
I'm a full elf, yes.
You are full of yes. They say that you can almost fly as far as how fast you can move. I got to witness some of that myself between the goblin beatings, but I noticed that you appear you could probably keep up with us even without this horse.
It's probably possible.
Hmm. That there's a raised eyebrow that you would suggest that you're capable of such a thing, but he's still impressed at the very least with the fact that you're willing to go along with it. Um, he would like to know whether how long you're planning on staying at Sandpoint.
As of right now, there is no set end date until I'd like to stick with this group at least. Eventually, we'll have to make our way on,
Mm.
unless something happens and we decide to stay for the rest of our lives.
He, he,
Mine
he
being
mentions that
rather more lengthy than most.
oh yes, indeed, I have heard of the longevity of elves. It's something that us humans, probably can't even begin to comprehend.
Cal gets a little somber at the mention of that.
Have you lost family?
Probably. I've been away for at least 100 years from home. I don't
Mm.
know what's going on back there.
Uh, I, it's hard to count up the amount of family that I've lost in the last 100 years. But that's natural for us humans, you see. He mentions the fact that he does hope that you choose to stick around, as his man told him that uh, Sheriff Hemlock was seen leaving the town, headed south, uh, probably in the direction of Magnamar, um, and that with several guards, and so all of you sticking around will make the rest of the people of Sandpoint feel more secure, I'm certain, especially if you can make yourself, you know, known.
Cal just nods.
Okay. So, Rakana, are you in the front, back, middle?
Um, just middle.
Okay. So he'll make his way to you. Um, and he, for a human, right, seems to truly enjoy the fact that there is an orc in this group, and seems completely fascinated by the fact, but also very comfortable in talking to you um, as a peer, which is the first time that in most of your interactions that you've had since getting to Sandpoint that it. Do you actually speak Orcish? I can't remember based on your backstory if you do or
Yeah.
not. Okay. So he actually even tries to say something to you in Orcish. That more of like a welcome and to the hunt type of message. Um, that would be seen as more as a common, almost colloquialism in Orcish, which kind of takes you back a little bit. That this man who's clearly refined uh, and likes to present himself as a noble would have such knowledge.
Yeah, she'll be surprised for a moment, but kind of pull herself together and say thank you in Orcish. And where did you learn our language?
He says I've found it um beneficial to know many tongues. Um not the least of which is Orcish, although it's incredibly hard for my, you know, small human mouth to make some of the noises that the wonderful noises that come out of um the maws of orcs. Um but I've studied um languages from the orcs to dwarves and elves. Um, the only ones that I'm find myself I have a bit of a proclivity for it and a bit of an aptitude, but the only ones that I have still yet to master are the magical languages and things like abyssal, which I really wouldn't have any use for. But of the individuals who I come into contact with, whether it be in Sandpoint or Magnamar, I'd like to make certain that I can address them in a language that they're familiar with, even if it's just with some passing, platitudes and or um, general sayings. I will admit that my Orcish is a, rather rusty, and B, extremely limited. So please forgive me for that. But I appreciate your willingness to, entertain me.
Yeah, she'll nod along, say it's a worthy pursuit.
Um, so are you wearing something similar to what your character is illustrated with?
Yeah, though she ended up in chainmail,
Okay.
so there's a little bit more armor, like probably a full chainmail uh,
Is
chest.
there's scarring on the skin? Is that correct?
Yeah, on her arms, on her face,
Okay.
would all be
So
visible.
he'll actually saddle up like right beside you, and he'll reach out to your whatever arm that you have on the reins, where there's acid, and try and touch it.
She'll withdraw.
Okay. So
Uh,
he like kind of catches himself for a moment and looks at you with a look of apology and says that he's sorry, but he was fascinated by um the scarring and he wonders where you got it from.
uh, it happened a long time ago. She'll kind of look away. She's not really feeling ready to talk about that.
Okay. He says he understands that the scars of that type can go very deep, and that he would, one day, if you're feeling comfortable, would like to hear the tale, as I'm sure that oh, uh, it's truly something to be told. He goes on to mention that he understands that orcs are not the type to normally share things other than the blades of their weapons with people. But he has found that on occasion, a sharing of a burden can lift it off the shoulders and potentially help one. Um, but he totally understands that and doesn't push that any further. Um, he asks you whether or not he should really believe this nonsense about poachers as a straightforward or, and he asks you this in Orcish, as he says orc to orc. should I believe this nonsense? Am I to truly believe this nonsense about poachers?
Can
The 7
can
or the 12 of you or however many there are,
can Forrest and Gip hear that?
do you speak
He's
Orcish?
speaking
Skip?
Orcish.
I can speak Orcish, yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
Then
Oh, I'm muted. Yes, I also speak Orcish.
okay. Well then, yes, the two of you could hear it.
Then Gip would cut in Orcish and say that the very rude thing to say.
So at hearing that, Foxglove's a little startled, and he looks back and says, "Wow, you have many talents, my friend." Back now, he's reverting back to the comment, and he kind of laughs it off as being, "Oh, I'm just having a little fun with my new friends here, and trying to get to know everybody a bit better." And it basically lets you know, or lets Sabina know that he was impressed. He spends the next couple minutes talking about how impressed he was, and it was clear that he was watching you and your performances um at the festival long before the goblin attack took place.
Yeah. Rakana, she's still listening, but she's definitely more withdrawn. She responds shortly, and yeah, just it was just what I do.
Okay. Mar, are you there?
I'm here.
Are you prepared? You're next in line here.
Okay. I'm here.
Uh-oh.
I'm just eating popcorn.
You're eating
Popcorn.
corn?
Popcorn.
Oh, popcorn. Okay. All right.
She
He
came
looks at you and says,
prepared.
"Where did you get such a delicacy?"
Wait, at me? She said that at me?
No. So he'll approach you and he kind of saddles up next to you and looks at you and looks back at the others
Mm-hmm.
and looks at you again
Mm-hmm. I
and then back
stare
at the others.
intently.
What's that?
I stare intently.
You're staring directly at him?
Yep.
Okay. He looks back at you, holding your gaze.
It's a staring contest now.
Yep. I'm just staring back.
Staring contest with a cat, folk.
Yeah.
Do you have cat ears?
No, I do not. I have horns of a tiefling.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh.
He'll
That completely changes my perspective on what Rose was.
Yeah, that was definitely not how it
Yep.
was described.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't because I had a hood on.
Oh.
No one asked to. But at this point, she would have put her hood down, or you would have seen him.
Yeah, I thought you had cat ears the whole time.
Same.
Y'all think I'm basic. I knew it.
Yeah.
Well, Mar, it is in your character portrait.
Yeah. You have.
Oh
cat
yeah,
ears.
that was in the picture. But we just went with that one because that's what I had at the time.
Okay.
So it's not accurate, is what you're telling me.
It's a little off, yeah. I should try. I couldn't get the AI to give me the right picture of what I wanted.
He'll ask, "What's someone like you doing with these people?"
Hmm.
Again, maintaining eye contact the whole time. His horse, perfectly gated with yours, and
So he's just straight up staring at Rose the entire time, not
Yep.
looking anywhere else.
correct.
I'll say.
Don't rob him.
I'll say. What's someone like you talking to me for?
I've invited
Okay.
you on a boar hunt. I'm inviting you to my townhouse for dinner afterwards. I've talked with most of the rest of your friends. Why wouldn't I want to talk with somebody as fascinating as you?
I guess we'll see how the hunt goes, and I'll let you know if you're as fascinating to talk to in return.
Well,
My goodness.
Mars got some
Savage.
spice today. Jesus.
What have I done to offend thee so much? Your purse is much heavier now than I imagined from before you met me, and I've been nothing but cordial to you.
I tilt my head, and I'm like, a lot of people just died, and we don't really know what caused it. So I think
Surely
I'm
you don't
allowed
think that
to
I
be in.
killed them.
Well, I don't really know what to think, do I?
Save your venom for someone else. And he trots off.
I giggle.
Very. What's that?
I giggle.
Okay. It kind of, kicks up a little bit of dust in your direction and heads over to. So Xian, Xian's the only one left, right? Is there anybody else who's not in the game? I think Xian's the only one left. So he'll approach you, Xian.
hmm.
Who I guess, you're like on a full size horse,
God damn it, Liz.
which is. uh, so
I had
he
to.
he approaches you,
Mm.
and says something along the lines of, "I found most of your companions to be quite interesting and very entertaining. You seem to be one that would that has quite an interesting backstory."
Not so much.
It's not every day that I believe you're. I travel in many learned circles and several popular circles, and I believe you are the first puppet that I've ever come into contact with.
Mm-mm. Interesting. They weren't that uncommon where I grew up.
Hmm. And where was that?
Hmm. I'm not too certain where it would be in relation to here. I've traveled a long way.
Where is it at? Where you from?
Actually, I can't remember the name of the kingdom. Let me just check my backstory for a second.
Okay.
Maybe I just never named it.
Okay. Ah, from the kingdom of Never Named. TBD? Is that the kingdom of TBD?
Hmm. Let's see. Okay.
Are you trying to find a name now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I can just make something up because it doesn't seem like I did name it back then. Interesting.
Well, I mean, it's relatively easy to find a. We'll just call it TBD for right now. That's fine. Because you do want to pick someplace that's actually in the Pathfinder universe, right?
Is that what you're saying, or is that what you're saying I should be doing, or what?
Well, I'm asking you if that's what you want. Do you want to actually be from someplace to where there's a
No.
You don't want to be from someplace.
Not someplace in this universe, to be sure.
Okay. Okay. That I suppose that will make things interesting. Okay, so you're from elsewhere.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a good name. Just call it elsewhere.
I think that's taken by the Elder
TC.
Scrolls.
Taken by what?
Elder Scrolls.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also,
Okay. So it's what a fascinating place, a land filled with puppets. They are, I can assure you, in Varizia, quite rare. As like I said, am fairly well traveled, but have known very few. Or known of very few, and you're certainly the first one that I've ever seen. Certainly the first one that I've ever seen with such power. Go ahead and roll a
Oh,
perception check for me.
sure. Let's see. Perception, perceive. All my rolls are just really good.
Okay. You notice like a when he talks about the power that you have, he becomes there's like it's not really like a lustfulness, but it's just like almost a jealousy, right? When he
Hmm.
talks about it. Um he goes on to mention the fact that he's seen your the children playing with dolls that look like you. He mentions that he noticed this prior to uh, you even being on his radar, or certainly before the Swallowtail Festival, and wonders what that's all about.
Oh, well, there were some children in trouble at one point, and I healed them to help them and reassure them that everything was okay. And ever since then, they've been doing that kind of thing.
I see, I see, and so he goes on. He wonders, um, who's the? He'll ask you, what deity grants you your powers?
Oh, it's not any particular deity. I'm attuned to just healing in general.
Okay. At that thought, or at the mention of that again, his uh, brow goes up once more, and he says something like, "So you haven't had to dedicate yourself to a god, and yet you possess the powers of one."
Well, I wouldn't say I possess the powers of a god, but I do possess powers similar to those that devote themselves to gods. That is true.
Well, I mean, we can argue semantics, but being able to heal the injured and prevent death, most people would call that very godlike ability. And
Mm,
certainly to the degree that some of the children have already begun, I don't know if you'd call it worship, and he kind of giggles to that idea, but certainly you occupy a place with them that is similar to the way that those silly men that go to worship Desna or Shalai or any of the others. That kind of devotion is hard to come by.
well, they are only children. I'm sure they'll grow out of it as they age.
Yeah. We'll see if you're continue to perform miracles for them or not. He'll ask you what your earliest memory is.
My earliest memory. Well, I guess it was when I was created by the wizard that, well, created me.
A wizard created you.
Well, yeah. Conjured my body from nothingness, but it wasn't until much later that I grew a consciousness.
Your body came from nothingness, he says.
Yeah, when you become powerful enough, wizards can do that kind of thing.
Oh, do we know the name of this wizard? Or
Um,
did you just call
I.
him Dad?
Oh, you're talking about out of character.
No. This is he'll say this to you.
Okay.
He'll say this to Blondie.
No. Yeah, his name was Alfred Drevis, but in all my travels here, I haven't heard any mention of him. So you may not have heard of his existence.
I have not. He says, sadly. I know of many powerful wizards, and I know that they have the ability to travel across the oceans or across plains, and so I'm sure your father is looking for you someplace.
Hopefully not. He fell from grace towards the end of my time with him.
He uh was it a long fall?
Looking back, there were signs of it happening, but it was very sudden when he turned to evil, I guess you could say.
How did you escape the clutches of a man who's capable of uh bringing life into existence where none was there before?
I couldn't say the exact mechanics of the spiriting away, but there was a strange being that gave me and my sister a jewel of some kind, which, when we were in a time of most need, just whisked us away to, well, not here, but somewhere on this world.
And is your sister in town?
I have not seen her since. I'm searching for her, but there has been no sign from what I've been able to tell.
Fascinating. I would think that, word can travel slowly, but it can travel swiftly in these parts. Um, as I told you, puppets are quite rare, and so if there is another one, I imagine that some inquiry, it just be a bit persistent. You should be able to find your sister sooner rather than later. Does she possess such powers as you as well?
Well, my sister wasn't a puppet. My sister was the biological daughter of the wizard.
Ah,
But whether she has any powers of her own, I'm not aware.
I see. Did she give you this gem, or was it bestowed
No,
onto
it,
you?
it was someone else. It was a tall man, bald and pale, with piercing red eyes. I don't know what he was, but he didn't feel human.
He kind of, you know, um, kind of takes his head and not and in a gesture towards Rose and says, uh, "Did he have horns atop his head like that one there?"
No horns. It was he. By ordinary sight, he would just look like a peculiar human and nothing else.
Be wary of those ones, he says, and continues to trot on.
Do I see this or no?
Yeah, he's not making any attempt to hide the conversation that he's having. You might, you're kind of in the middle. I mean, you're in my row of people here. You're basically right next to Shion, so you're probably 10, 15 feet in front of you.
Uh-huh. I just stare at him intently.
Okay. I mean, he doesn't make any he makes no note of you whatsoever. Um and after that, uh he says, "Here we are," and hops off his horse, gestures the rest of you to do the same. The man who had taken away the other pony, the pony and the other horse, has caught up to you at this point, and he takes the reins of each of your horses and uh, ties them up to some trees that are close by, and the boar hunt begins. And that's probably a pretty good place to end it, unless somebody has anything specific that they'd like to ask or any interactions that they'd like to have before we end.
No, I'm good.
I think so.
As a side note, Celeb can know I didn't actually take the 5 gold from you. You have the full 20.
You didn't take the what?
He didn't steal from.
I didn't
left.
steal from Daisy.
Oh, okay,
Love-
okay, all right, good, gotcha. It's like Daisy, feeling an overwhelming sense of generosity, decides to give me the other 20 gold. Yeah,
Sounds about right. Definitely something Daisy would do.
sounds like Daisy. What do those spellcasters need with money?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So obviously not a lot of fighting this time, but we had some lore that we needed to get through and some progression of story and whatnot and introduction of characters. And
That was a fun conversation.
what's that?
That was a fun conversation.
Oh my god. Cadence, you and I are going to have a discussion about opportunities missed, but
Opportunities gained. I just got us a new party member.
right?
True.
True.
The
What can they
grappler.
do?
Yeah. They can
They're
grapple.
good at grappling.
They can be
grappler.
fodder.
Newfoundland
They
combatant.
are very adept at grappling in all circumstances, apparently.
Yep.
Yep.
But I will say, so while all this is happening on the road, you're playing at the Rusty Dragon. Is that what's happening?
Sure. Yes.
Are we going to get to see what he's doing with his friend?
Well, Shayless will just be sitting there, staring at you dreamily, as an audience of one. That's where most other people are, going about their business. She has your rapt attention as far as while you're playing. Danny, are you?
I'm sitting next to Shayless and watching while I make acquaintance with my new friend and cuddle up against my dog.
Okay, but
Yeah.
which one of them are you watching?
Right. Are you watching Shayless or are you watching Lucian?
What? I can't watch both?
What? Sure. Sure. Just back and forth. What you find most interesting is that while most people at the Rusty Dragon have given you a much wider berth than what they were when your companion was simply a cute little corgi, now with the addition of this your reptilian friend, most people are avoiding your table by a good 10 to 15 feet. But Shayless is either completely comfortable with it or completely
Hasn't noticed it.
What's that?
Hasn't noticed it.
Or just hasn't noticed it at all, because she's every ounce of her attention is focused on Lucian. So occasionally she'll get upset with people when they don't clap loudly enough when one of his performances is done.
As she
James has
said,
got
they're
a
good
roadie.
performances.
What's that?
I said, as they should, they're good performances.
Yeah, no, and you do find yourself, enjoying the fact because she's not pathetic by any stretch of the imagination, right? She's clearly a very strong female, but you do kind of enjoy the fact that she will give people a hard time if they're not showing appropriate appreciation for your performances. So, and with that, that'll be good. And we'll pick it up at the boar hunt for next week. Is there anything? Yeah, I don't think anything's going on next week, so we should be good for regular time.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you for everybody's patience. Thank you for everybody that remained conscious during the entire time. And for those of you that didn't, get some more sleep next time. But yeah.
Yeah,
Any other
sorry I
questions?
wasn't as active today. I would have
No,
liked to
no,
play
don't
more, but
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I've been sick all weekend and I was exhausted.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
And we're glad you're here.
Mm.
Any other questions for me?
Oh, not really story questions or
level 3,
anything.
right?
You're gonna get smacked.
Cadence is level 69, but the rest of you are still level 2.
Nice.
What's that,
Well,
Shion?
he would have
Right.
been level 69.
Nice.
Yeah, I was looking at things I could do in level 2 to make it easier for us to hit enemies, and I found the fear spell. But then I also found the demoralize action, and it seems like it's basically the same thing as the fear spell. So I
They
wanted
are
to
very
ask you what the
close.
difference is.
Well, I think it's DC based. Is the fear spell will DC as well as demoralize?
They're both based on the
Demoralize
target's
is
will.
intimidation
Yeah.
skill.
But the but fear demoralize is not a spell hit. It's is it intimidation or something like
Yeah,
that?
an
Yeah.
intimidation
Yeah,
check.
so
to
it's
start its
whether or
movement.
not you're hitting somebody with a spell or a skill.
So if we have high intimidation, we should just take that instead of well, it's not taking it, you'd have it by default. You should just use that instead of having fear.
That's correct.
Interesting, okay.
So it's a way for let's say an int or wisdom based caster to not have to worry about high charisma and still have the effect.
I will need to find out a new spell then.
Okay.
That is a snake.
Yeah, I've actually found a bomb that has if I hit it, gives the enemy flat-footed state for everything until my next turn.
Okay.
That could be useful too.
Okay.
Especially for our rogue and such.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be I'm assuming that your snake companion is more like the first and less like the second one here. So
Not a hognose? No. No. If I could, I would have used my corn snake, but he's little.
Is it a companion or a familiar?
I believe this is a companion for
I
her, but I'm not sure.
think it's a companion.
So if
Yeah,
at level
I think
2 you're a sorcerer and are you taking the Beastmaster dedication or something, or what's happening there?
Yeah, Beastmaster was what we discussed before.
Okay, so yeah, then that'll be a companion. But it's like at this level it's the teddy bear companion version snake. It's like an actual
It's the young one.
snake, not not like a huge, fucking House Slytherin snake or anything like that.
I'm just
Speaking of
glad my bear's AC went up. Oh my god. That
Is
was
it-
awful.
Is the bear now
full size now, or-
mid-size? Yeah.
No, the bear is still small, but because of the level up, it's now trained in
Okay. In unarmored combat? You may have... Hello?
Yeah, you kind of cut out there in the middle damage. You might not be speaking if you're speaking.
Oh, my bad. I said, yeah, it went up from 12 to 16 because it's trained now in
Oh, yeah,
unarmored
that's huge.
combat, which is fantastic because I thought for sure it was going to die.
Just a matter of how many times, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, comments, or concerns, I will talk to you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks for the session.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Patty.
Thanks, Patty.
See
Thank you,
you. That was
Patty.
fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I got to go